Give me a sec here. Where am I at? Behind the preposition, I know that.
Joe.
Yeah. I'll have you know that technology, I knew there was a meeting today. Oh, sorry, I was, yeah. All right, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the Village Council Work Session meeting, May 30th, 2024. I show the time at 6:02 p.m. I show we have a quorum. Only one we're missing right now is Councilman Jamie Lyon, which I believe he's en route. So we'll announce that when he gets there. If not, we have to go first to considering allowing a councilman to participate remotely. We don't have anyone? Okay, that being said, we'll move on and need an adoption of the agenda. Do we have any changes or additions or subtractions?
Nope. Oh, I'm sorry, yes. We've added closed session pursuant to NCGS 143.318.11A5 to instruct staff concerning the position to be taken in negotiating the price and other material terms of a contract or proposed contract for the acquisition of real property identified as parcel 062070005.
Okay. Any other changes? I'll need the adoption of the agenda as amended.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Next up, we have adoption of the previous minutes.
I had no changes.
Any other changes from anyone?
No.
Hearing none, I'll need an adoption of the previous minutes. Motion?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that passes. Next up, presentations. We have reports and updates first. We'll start with manager's report. That'd be you, Christina. You're on.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I actually have a lot, but for my first item of business, I'm going to turn it over to Jill. She's going to give you a quick ARPA update. We've had a lot of back and forth over the last couple of months with, hey, we're going to spend some funding on the parking lot at Marvin Eford Park with ARPA funding. There's also been some recent updates that Jill's been in some classes where the money needs to be spent down and she wants to go ahead and get it done. So we've had a lot of moving parts. We are changing what we told you about 2 months ago, so she just wanted to give you a quick update.
Okay, you ready? So the deal with ARPA is, you guys might remember that all of the money had to be completely allocated to various projects by this, the end of this year, 12/31/24. But we had until 12/31/2026 to actually spend it all. So now that that deadline is looming to have the remaining balance completely allocated to projects, the federal government has issued some new sort of rules about what it means to be officially allocated. So it's no longer considered officially allocated when we collectively and you all vote or give me permission that we can say we're going to spend it on X, Y, and Z over the next few years. It has to be an official contract, an official purchase order. So it's basically become a big headache. And the School of Government and the LGC are strongly recommending any municipality that received less than $10 million, which is us, that we view the deadline to spend as 12/31/2024 and just get the money out and done and spent on projects, because any money that you don't spend by the end of 2026 has to be returned, but also any money that you haven't allocated has to be returned. So their concern is you enter into a project, you have good intentions, you have a purchase order, but then the project falls through or something happens and it doesn't go forward anymore. It's too late to reallocate it to something else, now you have to send it back. So all that being said, we're shifting gears and strategies, and instead of allocating that money to projects that are way out in the future, we're gonna use it to get some projects finished now. So I don't have an exact number. I don't feel comfortable giving you an exact number of how much I have. I can give you a ballpark, and that's because as we do audit and data entry and some cleanup, the number could change. But we roughly have about $185,000, sorry. Forgot that thousand.
$10 million.
We have about $185,000 that that I plan to spend by the end of this year, so that'll be fiscal year '24 to '25. We'll have already started that after July. The bulk of what I would like your permission to spend it on is going to be whatever engineering costs and whatever issues that we might find with these stormwater and flood water analysis, the survey that we're doing. We know that they're going to come back to us and probably say we have to do some things to fix those issues. We already have some ballpark numbers of how much it's going to cost. So after talking with Davey and Christina, we think that that's going to be a large enough expense that we could probably use the rest of this ARPA money, get it out the door, get it completed, and not have this deadline looming over our head anymore. So
And just for clarification purposes, the flooding issues that she's relating to is related to the Marvin Loop by the school, and then Joe Carr Road issues on the Marvin Loop, as well as Marvin Eford Park parking and stormwater issues that are associated there. And there's no other flood studies or anything that's being conducted with this funding.
yeah, and you guys have already given me permission to use the ARPA money to fund that stormwater study and analysis. And then we do have some ballpark ideas of what it could cost when it comes back, what it's going to be needed to fix those floodwater issues. And so we think that using the ARPA money is the best use for us, just to be able to get it out the door by the end of this year. And Davies confirmed that whatever those studies reveal, we should be able to do that work, get it completed, and get it paid for before the end of this calendar year, which will meet the obligations completely for us, and we can close that project out. Anybody have any questions?
Are any of those monies tied to any other matching funds or anything like that? Or these are just straight projects that we've kind of had on the board for existing issues that we're just moving that money up to pay for that?
So originally, we had planned on using the ARPA funds over the next three more fiscal years to kind of pay for some technology and other things like that, but we've reserved it for that. It's not part of any matching funds or any other projects that we have ongoing. We have since changed gears based on this wise feedback and counsel from the School of Government and the LGC to just get the money spent this year. So instead of allocating it for expensive software 2 years from now, we're looking to spend it now just so we can get it completed. And then we'll budget for the software in our budget moving forward, if that makes sense.
Thank you.
These are the two projects that have been needed for a while.
Two quick questions. Refresh my memory on the total ARPA amount that we received.
So your total award was just over it was $1 million. It was $1,076,933.
Okay. And it looks like we have 185 left, is what you're saying. And just to be clear, the recommended bodies that are recommending this?
The LGC, Local Government Commission, and the UNC School of Government.
Okay.
So they've been
it's
holding.
Not us, it's not us doing this, we're just taking their strong
No, they've been
recommendation
holding
because
these
of the.
ARPA informational and education meetings. They help us with they have a whole team dedicated to helping municipalities of all types spend ARPA funds and also do the annual reporting. And so every year we have these meetings and we have trainings and webinars, and they're the ones that have their finger on the pulse of how the ARPA rules are changing when it comes to reporting or spending. So this is coming top down from them, that we've evaluated the rules, and this is what we recommend to make sure that municipalities get to take advantage of every dollar and nobody finds themselves in a situation unintentionally where they now have to give money back. So that was their advice, and we think it makes the most sense for us as well.
And just so everyone understands, whenever there's federal dollars, like I'd mentioned on Tuesday, there's a lot more restrictions, a lot more regulations that we have to make sure that we're following. Just the interim and the final rules for both of the ARPA fundings were hundreds of pages, and that's something where we just don't have the wherewithal to go through all of those pages and make sure we're understanding everything to the T. So we do like to follow some of the experts in the field of local government financing, which is the LGC and School of Government. So Federal
those
funding.
New rules come into effect January 1, so that's why we're spending before that, because we'd be operating under the current.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that new rules are coming, it's sort of like when all of this was put out there, it was vague, you know, because there was a rush to get this ARPA, American Rescue Plan. There was just a rush to get it in place and get money in the hands of municipalities, and over the last couple of years, it's been massaged, and they've loosened some of the restrictions to make it a little bit easier. You guys might remember originally there was very specific categories you could spend in. Then they came back and said, okay, we're going to loosen this up and make it a little bit easier. So you all revised the ordinance of how we plan to spend it to make it easier on municipalities. So they continue to massage it, and now these latest sort of explanations of what it truly means to be considered allocated. It's not just you can have an Excel spreadsheet with a list of projects that you plan to spend it on. They don't consider that allocated unless you have a contract in place and or a purchase order. So it just makes that deadline to allocate a little bit more risky, as I mentioned, in case a project falls through or for whatever reason we decide it's no longer needed. We don't have the luxury of just, especially if it's after 12/31/24, we can't just reallocate and say, oh, that project died, we're going to move it over here. So we'd have to give the money back. So it's safer to just spend it all this year since we have it, and we have projects that need to get done that we can spend it on.
Any
Anyone
other
else?
questions?
Okay, thanks.
All right, Christina, it's back in your court.
Yes. So the next thing is the Stream Rehabilitation Assistance Grant update. As you all know, we applied for what I've referred to as a STRAP grant. Stream Restoration Assistance Program grant is what Streamflow Rehabilitation Assistance Program, not to be confused with STIP, which is the CRTPO sidewalk grant. We did apply for this stormwater rehabilitation grant for about $18 million back in February, if I remember correctly. We were supposed to be notified in May, the end of May, if we received awards. Fortunately for us and for the state of North Carolina, DEQ actually contacted the Department of Division of Soil and Water Conservation, who's actually doing the award for this grant, and they have about $20 million additionally that they're going to fund into these projects. So they basically have more funding they're going to put into awards. They are planning to let us know on June 27th if we received an award. So we hopefully will expect to receive something larger than what we submitted originally. Just wanted to let you all know. This was for Marvin Branch, McBride Branch, 6 Mile Creek, and then 6 Mile Tributary. Any questions on that? Okay. The next thing I wanted to mention is the National Floodplain Insurance Program. There's been a lot of discussion and talk about this over the recent months, and I just wanted to remind you all and the community that the National Floodplain Insurance Program is a voluntary program. The community has the right to choose whether or not they decide to participate in the program and regulate development within flood-prone designated areas by FEMA. So Village of Marvin does have the authority to decide if they want to participate or not participate in that program. Now, obviously, if we don't participate, there's a lot of implications to residents and to the village itself, which include floodplain insurance not available through the program. They would still be available at a higher cost to residents, but that is one implication. No federally backed mortgages would be allowed. No federal grants or loans would be allowed as well. Communities wouldn't be allowed for state or federal disaster assistance. That includes that grant that I just mentioned to you of $18 million that we submitted to help out the communities of Marvin Creek, Canterfield Creek, Firethorn, Tullamore, Amber Meadows, Preserve, Saddle Avenue, which I think is Marvin Estates. I could have forgotten some of them, but that does include any programs that would help to improve those areas as well. There's a couple of other things. I just passed around a little flyer to show you guys, but I just wanted to make you all aware of that opportunity. And if you have any questions, feel free to pass those messages along.
So our participation in this program is voluntary.
Correct. The voluntary program allows us to regulate development primarily to help get lower cost for property owners, floodplain insurance, and all the other things that I just mentioned, federally backed mortgages, and all the stuff that's in that flyer that I handed out.
So if we didn't participate in the program, does that mean that we don't regulate how we develop in flood-prone areas?
We would still have to regulate it, or it's actually listed in here. The federal law imposes certain restrictions on federal and federally assisted finance programs with flood hazard areas of non-participating communities. State restrictions on hazard mitigation grants and disaster assistance also apply. From what I was told from our state folks, is that if we did not regulate, if we ever decided to come back into the program, we would have to kind of backtrack to see what developments were done during the time we were out, and they would have to come in compliance. So I can, if this is something you guys are interested in, I can get some more information, but as far as what the regulation types are, if we pull out of the program, I'm not 100% sure.
Is there a cost for us to participate?
No.
Other than the amount of
Staff
staff
time,
time
yeah.
and administrating to that effect?
Yes.
Okay.
However, here recently, it has been very costly due to the, amount of time that we've been putting into responding to questions and emails and dealing with outside agencies. It's been pretty costly here lately, but
But there's not a cost beyond that
No.
that you pay to
no.
the flood insurance plan, other than
No.
the premiums that individual residents might pay as part of it?
Yeah, we don't have any impact on that, but the residents do positively get a benefit from that by having reduced floodplain insurance, because we're a part of the program.
So if we weren't a part of it, we could just build, or we could, obviously not us build, but we could approve development in these flood-prone areas.
We would not approve because we wouldn't be regulating floodplain development. So I don't know what types of regulations would have to come into play or who would approve that at that point in time. I can look into that.
So by us voluntarily being a part of this program, we are able to give all kinds of benefits to our residents. We can also protect the floodways, the floodplains, because if we didn't participate in it, then they wouldn't be as protected?
That's correct.
Okay. So out of all of how we're trying to skirt doing the right thing and we're being not forthcoming with the project of the connector trail in Marvin Creek, it seems to me that we are going above and beyond trying to protect the village when it comes to flooding and floodplains and floodways, and giving a huge benefit to our residents by participating in that, as they can get flood insurance, they can have federally backed mortgages, we can get grants, there's state disaster assistance, federal disaster assistance, mortgage insurance. So I think that it is really important for the community to understand that we don't have to participate in this. We do it, one, because it's the right thing to do, but we do it in order to give our residents extra. We go extra for our residents. And I just want people to realize that this is a voluntary program. We don't have to do it, and it does take a lot of staff time. So I appreciate you bringing this to our attention, and if anyone has questions about this, to please feel free to contact Hunter or Christina about all of the benefits that we get from doing this and how we are going above and beyond for our residents.
The only thing I'd correct you on is,
Sorry.
I think you said that we're shortcutting the system. We've been accused.
I'm sorry, we've been accused of that. My apologies if I
And
didn't
the
say
other-
that.
You said, I think you implied that we or shortcutting the system, and you said something else, but we've been
This
accused
is what
of
we've been
that.
accused of doing. So I find it interesting that us doing all of this extra stuff, that we would then we've been accused of then trying to skirt our own ordinances. Skirt was the correct word that was used.
And just so you all are aware, Mr. Terry Fox, who we've heard about over the last several months, is planning to come to our June 27th meeting, I believe, is the work session. Is that date right? June 27th? To do a floodplain 101 kind of educational bit for you all and for the residents that may have questions or concerns about anything that's transpired. June 27th.
Yeah, that's our
Well-
next work session.
Work session. And so if you have questions about if we were to pull out, like who would regulate the development, that would be the time and opportunity for him to answer those questions, because I really honestly don't know the answer to that.
Thank you.
And then the last thing, well, I have actually a couple more things, but the last thing that I have listed here is the 2024 Building Code Regulatory Reform, which is Senate Bill 166. Councilman Wortman asked me to add this into your agenda packets for discussion to potentially consider a resolution of opposition, because as he read it or was told, it basically made some changes to state law that would require the Village of Marvin to allow duplexes and quadruplexes, triplexes into our residential code. I have glanced through this. I do not read it that way, so it could be in there. I'm just not seeing it. I've asked Hunter to read into it. What I think is, it is a little bit confusing. The bill itself is about 100 pages, 67 pages, it looks like. So there's a lot of information here. It's in your agenda packet, but the way that I'm reading it is that it allows more regulatory information on the building code itself for those types of dwellings. It doesn't require us to allow those into our zoning code. And do you have anything else you want to add? We can continue to follow this and watch it, but that's how I'm interpreting it.
Yeah, I looked over it, and it is kind of confusing and vague in certain areas, but I looked into the North Carolina APA, the American Planners Association, has like a legislative bill tracker, kind of looked at that. They didn't note, like basically in their summary of it, it does not say like, this is changing the term single-family dwelling and how it would apply to zoning. So I don't think, from my understanding, it's not necessarily adding those under that same umbrella. I know there was a bill in the past that tried to do that, but I don't think, based off of what Christina was saying, and we reviewed it, it's just adding language into building code for those specific things, but it's not including those as the same. Could be, but yeah, at this time, like, it's not doing any change for our regulatory purposes.
There are some things in there that I did see that are a little bit applicable to us, which is not a huge deal, but it did have some restrictions in there for requirements for pedestrian infrastructure. Like municipalities could not require developers to put in pedestrian infrastructure devices, which, I don't know if you saw that, but that was one little minor thing. Yeah. So we can, again, continue to follow it with some of the association and the league, but I didn't read it the way that I guess you were instructed to, how it applied to us. Did anyone have any questions? Did anyone get the opportunity to read it themselves?
Yeah, I read it all. All 67 pages.
So we'll
Frightening.
we'll follow it at a staff level, and we'll let you know if there's anything you need to be aware of.
What's frightening is that they have this bill, and all three of you are not sure what it really means. So that is the frightening part to me, if it's not clear on what they're trying to get across, but.
And then I have a couple more things. Do y'all have any other questions or comments on that?
We talked to our state reps about this.
Yeah, we can.
That'd be great.
So speaking of that, that's a good segue into the next thing. As you all know, we have a really good relationship with our representatives, and we reach out to them from time to time when we have needs, we need assistance, just like what was just mentioned. And over the last couple of weeks, we have become aware of some surplus at the state level of funding. So we did make a special legislative discretionary request. We've been very successful in working with Representative Willis and Johnson in the past. we have been able to secure roughly shy of $1 million through our great relationships over the last couple of years. Representative Willis did submit a discretionary request for $1 million, roughly $1 million for greenways and trails and parks infrastructure, as well as trying to get some assistance at the roundabout at Bonds Grove and Waxhaw Marvin. So there's some restrictions that he has on his level with road infrastructure. There's some parameters and rules that really kind of prohibit that. So I've kind of assured him that if he was able to get us some funding, we could potentially reallocate the $250. If he was able to get us some funding for parks, we could reallocate the $250 that we had put in the Parks and Recreation Trust Fund project and reallocate it over to the roundabout if needed. So hopefully you all will be amenable to that if that comes into play. And we can basically reallocate some funding to essentially help with the roundabout, even though he can't directly help with the roundabout.
When will we know about that?
Hopefully next week.
Oh, wow, that's soon. That's great. So it could be 0, could be $1 million.
Could be $1 million, could be 0, or somewhere in between. So
I like our chances.
I just wanted to make you aware of that. And then the last thing I want to make you aware of is, and actually make a somewhat of a request to you all, is there is some potential new funding that I have gotten my hands on with the North Carolina Division of Parks and Recreation Great Trails State Program. It provides funding for new trail development and extension of existing trails anywhere in the state of North Carolina. This funding cycle will distribute $25 million, and it is a 50% match for Union County. We are a Tier 3 community, which basically means we have a dollar-for-dollar match. If you guys are interested in us applying for some level of assistance, we would have to provide a 50% match. The timeline of the deadline is September 3rd for us to apply, and we would find out in early '25 if we were awarded.
I mean, I think the answer is yes.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't think we ever
and-
turn down things when they're 50% off.
Well, and, you know,
And if, we may not get
possibly,
anything.
Yeah, we may not get it anyway,
David,
so it doesn't hurt
it's
to.
on.
Is there-
possibly David might be able to get us that match. So that's, yeah, I would say,
So there's a consensus to go ahead and proceed? Okay. Yep. Okay. And that's all that I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Moving on, Clerk and Communications Report.
All right, first up is your monthly communications update. I've got the list in your agenda packets for June. If you've had time to look over that, just let me know, is there anything missing, anything else we need to add, you want to promote for the next month? Or just do what we've been doing?
I think we're good.
Yeah.
We'll keep that up. Next, I have been doing a couple demos for some software solutions that could help improve our communications and our community engagement. To these softwares, the names are called Aptegi, A-P-P-T-E-G-Y, and ZenCity. They do a little bit of different things. One would replace our website, would create a mobile app with a live news feed for residents. So it'd be an alternative way for them to receive news and push notifications about what we're doing. The city of Greer in South Carolina and some other ones use this technology. I put some information in your agenda packets if you're interested. If we were to end up replacing our website and using this software, it would add about $2,000 extra in expenses each year, and there's a setup fee, of course. The other one, ZenCity, is more of a platform that focuses on learning about the community's perception of different issues online and through social media. Both softwares also use auto publishers for social media, and so just two solutions. I've got those materials in your agenda packet. If you guys are interested in learning more about those, I can schedule a presentation in a future work session for probably 10 minutes each or something like that. So let me know if that's something you're interested in. And lastly, we have a communications request from someone that is renting the barn, and Tyler is going to present that.
So a resident has been in contact with me. So basically, they're affiliated with, it's called Acton. Basically, she applied for it as a way to have a young professional entrepreneur business fair for children. And she is looking to just have us kind of post it in the newsletter and stuff. And I talked to her about maybe giving Marvin children first 2 weeks to register as a benefit to us, but it would essentially just be another rental at the barn, but it would be from 10 to 3 on July 27th. It's a nonprofit organization, so they wouldn't be gaining anything from it. It's just a way for young kids in the area who have their own businesses and aspire to be entrepreneurs to kind of showcase. And she was looking to kind of partner with us, have us post it in the newsletter and social media.
Per your communication policy, you guys just need to approve if there's an outside request or not. No funds are being requested, for us to put this on social media and our newsletter.
And they're not making money off of it, you said?
No, it'd just be another rental, just a way for kids. And I did put not the stipulation that's going to be so packed or anything, but I did tell her I would prefer if Marvin resident children had first dibs if there was a set amount of people that they could accept. The way she explained it to me is it'll be set up almost like an expo, like just in the barn and kind of around the barn. Kids will have booths with their businesses.
I mean, I think that's fine. I mean, we do it with Marsh.
Well, and I also think if we're publicizing it, it gives us a better chance of Marvin residents, kids being able to participate in them. So I wouldn't have an issue with that.
I'm okay with it.
All right.
We will move forward with that. Tyler, if you could just get that information, they can send that over to me, and we can get that worked into the June newsletters and social media. And that is all for my report.
Thank you, Austin. Planners report. Congrats. by the way.
Thank you. Just the only update I have is that before I left on vacation, we met with Dewberry and walked the tentative or preliminary Marvin Loop route. They have got me a very high-level routing design of it that I'll be emailing you guys. Just want to get some maybe initial feedback, comments on. Like I said, this is very high-level conceptual based off where we walked. But in it, you can see where the proposed trail will be in the right-of-way, where we will just have to be doing right-of-way encroachments with NCDOT, as well as any portions that would be kind of on a physical property in which we would have to go and get easements from those properties. So I'm going to be emailing that to you guys, and if you guys can just give me some comments, feedback, want to get that, keep the ball rolling on that and get those back to Dewberry, and then they'll make those amendments and then probably come and present it formally to you guys in the coming months.
With whatever you're going to send us, I'm assuming you're going to send us a map and maybe like a list, like this parcel 1, we have right-of-way. Parcel 2, we have an easement. Parcel 3, we need an easement.
I don't have that yet. I mean, I can try to put together a high level, this is just literally basically a survey, not really a survey, but it's taking the aerial and the property lines, and it shows the route, and then it's got a detailed where then you can see more specifically on that physical property. But I can go and look at what properties it's encroaching into, and when I email it to you, you can just go ahead and outline that in the email.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful for us, just to kind of know, like, if we like the route of it. I mean, there's only so little place that you can go. So I would just like to know, like, where we have easements, where we're in the right-of-way, and where we need to then secure.
And just so you know, and I don't know if you recall this from the discussions that we had with Dewberry, but, because we had the same conversation about if we had potential easements already, and we may want to try to stay in that area, there was some type of federal regulation that he referenced, and again, this is why we need these people on our hand, not necessarily because there's some other federal regulation that says we can't pick and choose the location based on existing easements because it's discriminatory in some way, shape, or form. I don't know the specific law. I don't know the specific federal regulation. It's in existence. It's called NEPA or...
That's fine. If you can just send us what we got, if you have it. If you don't have it, it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, looking at it, really, it's the only properties. It's pretty much between the churches. For the most part, the rest of it's in the right-of-way, outside of maybe then that one individual lot, that small lot that's on Newtown. or not Newtown, sorry, Marvin Road. But for the most part, the rest of it is out of the right-of-way. The only other thing I want you guys to look at when this is sent is that the original plan there outside of Heritage Oaks, where they have that, or the neighborhood, Woodcliff, has the existing path on the other side of the road. The plan is to probably keep it all on this side, but just since that sidewalk was already there and kind of coming out to the road, we'd probably still want to maybe do a crossing and consider it, so they have that on the plan, kind of showing that. But I'll send that to you guys and highlight some of those parcels, and then, like I said, just give me some feedback. Either you can drop by, let me know, shoot me an email, and then I'll get all those incorporated in and get them to Dewberry. Other than that, that is the only thing I have, unless you guys have any questions on anything.
Any questions? Thank you. Hunter? See, next up, we have event planning report.
5K and Health Fair this Saturday. Health Fair will run from about 8 to 11:30. The 5K is at 9 a.m. The Family Kids Fun Run is at 10 a.m. Currently have about 200 runners signed up. That number will go up a couple more before the event. Health Fair, we have 10 local businesses coming out setting up booths. Blood Mobile will be there. We've been posting a link online so you can pre-register to donate blood. You get a t-shirt and e-gift cards. Sweet setup. Mobile coffee truck will be there. So that'll be a fun little morning. July 12th, we're doing our stargazing event. You'll find that registration online starting next week. And following that, on August 6th, will be National Night Out this year. I've already started talking with Justin back there about what we're going to do and how that's going to go, but that will be the Tuesday. So, any questions?
No questions? All right, thank you, Tyler. Coffee with council.
You actually have not had a coffee with council since the last meeting.
That was going to be Jamie and myself on last Tuesday night, so we were all here.
I got some people for that. All right, moving forward. Next up, we have consent agenda. Do we have,
I'd like to make a
What'd you
motion
say
to
about-
approve the consent agenda as presented.
all's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that passes. Next up, public hearing. We have a public hearing to consider adoption of the fiscal year 24-25 general fund budget ordinance. Need a motion to open that?
You don't want a
Nope.
No,
motion.
we
It's
don't?
open.
It's open.
Come on down,
Anyone
Jill.
here to speak?
I'll go ahead and open it up, and I apologize because I'm going to read from this budget message, but I think there's a lot of relevant information in here, and this is just for folks that are listening at home. So inside of your agenda packets, we do have the recommended fiscal year 24-25 budget, as well as the manager's message. So attached is the recommended fiscal year 25 budget for the Village of Marvin, which marks the 30th annual operating budget for this, for the village. It's a huge accomplishment for us. The recommended budget is $3.1 million in expenditures and revenues, which reflects a $192,000 increase from the current year's adopted budget. However, $115,000 of this increase is an appropriation from our unassigned fund balance. A large percentage of this increase is to provide funding for a capital project ordinance transfer of $167,000 to meet financial obligations of the Bonds Grove Waxhaw Marvin Roundabout project. Additional increases are a result of necessary operational increases associated with inflation, increased demands in our planning and zoning department, additional maintenance and capital needs necessary for infrastructure, and contractual obligation rises. The recommended budget is balanced with a 2-cent tax increase and no increase in solid waste fees. Since 2010, the village has witnessed a surge of growth, and tax rates have been stable around 5 cents per hundred in valuation since early 2000. In 2020, the village witnessed a 1-cent tax increase specifically for the dedicated law enforcement officer. No other operational increases were generated with this increase. Since the tax rate has remained stable, the village's tax rate is the lowest tax rate within Union County amongst municipalities that operate and maintain a roadway system, and that is assuming that they all participate in PAL bill. I referenced the statute there that prohibits municipalities from entering into PAL bill allocations if they are under 5 cents per 100 tax rate. The proposed increase is necessary to meet the demands of the public and maintains current levels of service to Marvin residents. Ad valorem taxes, which are your real property, personal property, and vehicle taxes, are the majority of the village's revenue source at 42% of its total revenue. Other revenues consist of unrestricted intergovernmental, which is beer, wine, utility sales tax, and local option sales tax, which represents 24% of the total revenue. PAL bill dollars reflect 6% of the total budget. And then permits and fees represent 5% of the overall budget. We also have solid waste fees reflecting 16%. And again, there are no proposed increases in solid waste for this year. Fund balance appropriation is recommended for one-time expenditures in this year's budget totaling $115,000 from unassigned fund balance. This is to cover floodplain and wetland study, an additional truck for our public works fleet, and a consultant for a master plan for the Heritage District. The goals and objectives with this budget is to continue facility maintenance of our 15-year amortization schedule at the Village Hall facility, a full-time public works maintenance staff, and a planning assistant to meet the increased demands of those respective departments. There's a creation of the capital project fund that we've referenced for the Bonds Grove Waxhaw Marvin Roundabout project, continued operations in solid waste, continued priority of public safety with law enforcement coverage during peak time 7 days a week with an 8.7% increase, and funding projects that are listed into the capital improvement plan. Observing the contingency of $50,000 for unexpected projects that come throughout the year, to maintain competitive employee benefits package consistent with the village personnel policy, the League of Municipalities fiscal year 24-25 study, and the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistic Consumer Price Index, miscellaneous safety equipment for village employees, contractual service for necessary tree removal for public safety, capital expenses for brine and ice removal for storm preparation and response on village-maintained streets, and other operational increases to include internet service at Marvin Eford Park, miscellaneous grant matching, creation of a tree buffer allowance, a new community survey, Marvin Heritage District planning consultant, and then increases in various software. The budget overview for revenue types and expenditures by type are referenced in the budget letter, so you can see those. We also have the transfers listed out, which is a transfer to the Capital Project Greenways Fund, the Capital Reserve Fund, Capital Reserve for miscellaneous equipment, the Bonds Grove Waxhaw Marvin, and then fund balance restricted for streets. And then we also have itemized the capital project ordinances that you have currently and their respective balances, which include the farmer's market at $25,000, the Greenway and Loop capital project, which currently has $55,000, special projects for ARPA, special projects for infrastructure, and then special projects for Village Hall Park. I wanted to express my gratitude and appreciation for both the staff and Village Council for allowing us to put this budget together for y'all to continue to serve the Village of Marvin residents. And that's all I have, unless y'all have particular questions.
I mean, I think we've beat this budget to death. Does anybody have any questions?
Nope.
All right, nobody's here to speak? All right, so I'm going to make a motion to,
You need to close the
I'm
public.
going to, okay, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
You don't have to motion for that.
Okay, well, I'm closing the public hearing.
I guess I'll just.
Well, I mean, I'm making a motion, and we're just, I mean,
Moving on.
do we need to talk about it?
No, I think we're, like you said.
I mean, we have talked about it for the past 3 months ad nauseum, so I'm going to make
Normally we get more people in the
I
audience.
know, I'm going to make a motion to adopt the fiscal year 24-25 general fund budget ordinance as presented.
Further discussion? All of those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that passes.
Great job, Jill.
Nice job. All right. Moving on, unfinished business. First up, we have annexation study group.
Okay. You guys previously instructed me to put together a sign-up genius. to allow residents to sign up for an annexation study group, which they would be educated on annexation law, review the annexation consultant proposals that we're getting, as well as to consider strategies and actions that we could take to bolster future voluntary annexation efforts, or maybe even advise on an annexation by referendum process. Group could even go out in the community, go door knocking, really do some outreach to some of these areas that are not in Marvin on paper, but are nestled right in with the rest of the village. Previously, you guys told me to set up this group. You didn't really give me much structure for it, but you did say you wanted to feature both Marvin residents and non-Marvin residents. As of today, we've had 8 residents sign up through the Sign Up Genius and 2 non-residents. Those 2 non-residents, one lives in the Reserve and the other in Walden Pond. You've got that list in your agenda packet, so I'm coming back to you today just to ask for direction on what you want to do next.
So, because I think that annexation is a really important topic, and I know that you're not going to love this, Austin, and I apologize, but I think that this actually needs to be a committee and not a working group, because I do think that minutes need to be taken, because I think what they talk about, we're going to be able to look at years later to see what they have tried. I know that we would have probably liked to have seen, more formal records of annexation attempts in the past. So I think that this is going to have to be a true committee with minutes taken, which means we're going to have to appoint people to this committee. I think we all need to call these people, because they will be out representing the village. And I know I'm looking at names on here that I know are out in the village saying not great things about us and what we're doing. So I would like to know what their representation of the village is going to be, or if they're going to be out there being like, don't annex, don't do it. So I think that if this is our list of people that have volunteered to be on this committee, we all need to be having serious conversations with this group of people, and where they are and why they would like to be on this committee, and how they will be representing the village.
Couple process questions for you all. Would you like their current signups to serve as their formal applications? Or would you like me to set up a unique application for them as well?
I'd like a little, personally, I'd like a little
too.
background on them, just like we do any other.
Me too.
So what I will do then, I will set up, just like any other board, I will set up a formal application. I will message them all, thank them all for their interest. I'm going to direct them all to go to that formal application to apply. The next question I have for you all is, how many people do you want this committee to be? You need to set a number of seats. And how many you want to dedicate to residents versus non-residents?
John, I assume you're going to be, didn't we volunteer you for this?
I think I volunteered him, actually.
I think
Well,
we did. I think we went, he used the rest.
What do you think it'd be, like
Well,
9 people?
I think you do want a good combination. I think, probably you would hope to get to at least maybe 25% of the group maybe being non-residents, It's a lot to ask for the non-residents to come do it, So I don't know if we'll necessarily, it seems like we're already getting more residents than non-residents, but I think we'd want to try to hit a goal of at least 25% non-residents, because we really want to make sure that we're taking those unique considerations into play. And they're, in their communities, probably going to be picking up and hearing things as we go through this process. That'll be important to have that feedback, so.
Yeah, I almost feel like it would be better to have more non-residents than.
I just don't know how realistic it is.
I don't know that it's
get to
realistic
that.
either, but
You can
maybe
choose
like
not-
50-50.
You can choose not to earmark the number of seats for residents versus non-residents and just appoint whoever you would choose who applies. As far as number of seats, I'd recommend anywhere from between 5 and 9 people. That's usually the range you see for most boards and committees.
Okay, I would say I would err on the higher side just to get more input.
Yeah.
And again, try to get more non-residents, so I would say 9.
9?
And,
Okay.
yeah, I would be at the 9, number 2. The only thing I'd say is, and I'm saying this because it could happen, that the non-residents be particularly possibly affected. Like, I don't want anyone from someone that's a non-resident that's so far away from Marvin that's participating
You
in
would
this.
want them to be within our annexation area.
Yes, yeah, just to be clear on that, so.
Yeah, because we do have a sphere of influence agreement still that's active with Weddington, you
Yep.
know, and that's really, we're bounded on the other side by Mecklenburg and South Carolina, and there's only a handful of properties in between us and Waxhaw that's not been. So, you know, we're really not talking about a lot of things on our exterior. It's more subdivisions that are the same people we go to church and school and everything else with, kind of in that donut hole.
So on a staff side, myself, Ptolemy, and maybe Hunter might sit in on some of these meetings. I will be structuring some of the earlier ones, really focusing on education. I'm trying to get a professor from the School of Government to come or give a presentation remotely for the first meeting. So we'll start off with annexation law and move from there into strategies and consultant proposals. And I think it's going to be a good group, and Ptolemy's going to get some good experience too from this.
Okay.
I think that one other important component is also just going to be this, as much as we can gather from the village's information, but the history of Marvin and, you know, why we were formed to begin with, you know, what we've done over the years to kind of protect and help develop, you know, because part of the reason Marvin is what it is now is because of the decisions that were made, you know, historically. And I think that'll be an important piece so people understand why it's kind of come about.
We can definitely do a good education piece on that too. There are some members in the community that have been around for that long and are still involved and still like to learn what's going on. So we can reach out to some of those people too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that putting together a formal application and then getting those back, distributing those to council, and it's gonna take a while for us to get through them. But I do think that this is a very important group that we're gonna put together. And I would really like to know and appreciate where they're coming from. And again, I wanna make sure that they are representing the village in a positive light.
And it's great, we had
Well,
8 people.
I want to be careful with that too, because we also want non-residents, and I don't think we want to kind of have non-residents that just want to be in Marvin. We also want the non-residents
Sure.
that may not want to be in Marvin.
Oh,
So,
yes, of course.
you know,
I'm just saying, if we have Marvin residents who want to be a part of this group, then you don't have to agree with everything that this council has done.
Yeah.
But going out and bad-mouthing council, staff, the village itself is not going to be acceptable, and that will not fly.
agreed. Yeah, agreed.
So I think I have my direction there. The only other thing I would ask is that you all formally make a motion to establish this committee with the number of seats.
You want to take that?
Oh, yeah, I'll make a motion to form a annexation committee with a total of 9 members. We would like both residents and non-residents. We will not change the number, or we won't earmark the number for residents versus non-residents.
Be fine.
Can I add one other thing? Can we reach out to Hunter Oaks and see if they may have one as a non-residence?
Yeah.
I don't think I have a contact for Hunter Oaks, but we can try to get one.
Okay.
Yeah, as Somerset, I would include in that as well,
I would include
eventually,
everywhere in
but.
annexation area.
And I think all of us also know people in all these other neighborhoods. So if there's people that you think might be real good, you know, please reach out to them. And you know, I think 9 is a good goal to start with the response we've gotten, but I'd love to see it end up being more, you know.
I will say you don't want to go too large because you'll have too many cooks in the kitchen. But I do think this is a good size for this group. So you do have a motion on the table.
Yeah, right now I don't have any friends in Marvin, let alone outside of Marvin. So I don't know.
So if we know somebody that wants in another neighborhood, we can have them call you.
They can call me, email me, and I'll direct them to the application I set up. I'll try to get that set up next week.
So we have a motion on the table. Further discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Hunter, when you have to call your new wife to say you're working late, you can blame it on Austin.
I will be shooting for these meetings to be during the day, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
All right. Next up, new business. Tom Short, Road Landscaping Maintenance Update.
Remember, Davey.
Yes, I remember. So good evening, everyone. Just wanted to provide you some information pertaining to a seasonal item pertaining to landscaping maintenance along Tom Short Road. So I'm going to give you a little background. Prior to 2023, landscaping maintenance along Tom Short was provided by the developer of the Tullamore and Amber Meadows neighborhoods via maintenance agreements with the North Carolina Department of Transportation. And this was just the stretch that abutted the properties for both of those neighborhoods. So that was that stretch of Tom Short. Once the neighborhoods were built out, that agreement was transferred over to the HOAs for both of the neighborhoods, and they maintained those properties for a few years. Back in September of 2023, past September, they did request to the North Carolina Department of Transportation to be released from those agreements, and that was granted by the state. So in your agenda packet, I've included two maps of Tom Short Road. One is shows what is a green line, also a red or pink line. You'll see the green lines reflect North Carolina Department of Transportation owned roads and right-of-ways along Tom Short. The red portion is the portion owned by the Village of Marvin. As you can see, it's a very small portion of road that we own. The Department of Transportation owns the portion of Tom Short from Ray Road all the way through the roundabout at Meadow Vista Drive. And so just as you get through that roundabout, it's just a matter of 10, 20, 30 feet down the road. That's where we pick up. You can actually see where the fog seal had been applied back in 2023 on that line. So Public Works staff has begun maintaining our portion of roadway that we own, and we own from that spot all the way to the roundabout that goes into the Marvin Creek neighborhood, that entrance. Marvin Creek handles their landscaping along Tom Short, that small portion as well, but from their property all the way to just the portion that we own, we're maintaining it now. So any vegetation that grows over in the road, we trim it back. We're maintaining the grass, and we've added that to our weekly schedule to make sure it stays maintained. What I'm bringing to you is now that the North Carolina Department of Transportation has taken back the maintenance of the right-of-way along their portion of Tom Short, they've added this maintenance to their maintenance schedule, which equates to roughly one mowing per month. It may be 4 weeks, maybe 5 weeks. I think it's 5 mowings over a 6-month period. So they will maintain their edges of the roads, but if you look on that stretch of road, there are a couple of islands, and there is some plantings within the roundabout there that the developer, homeowner association at some point had planted some trees and vegetation, and they were maintaining that. It's no longer being maintained. I reached out to the state. They have no intentions of maintaining the islands and the roundabout as it was previously. So I would imagine they're going to cut back any vegetation that grows over into the roadway, but it won't be maintained the way it was.
So in other words, up to last year, the property around Tom Short from Ray Road to the roundabout has been maintained by HOAs because there was a maintenance agreement with those respective HOAs. So up to that point of us revising those contracts with Amber Meadows and Tullamore, they were maintaining that level of standard. As those contracts were amended, that maintenance prescription then went back to the Department of Transportation with a minor exception of a very small portion that the village owns. So the roundabout and the island that's on Tom Short Road is going to be maintained by DOT at a standard of pretty much non-existence. So if people have problems or see that there's issues, they need to call DOT. DOT will only address safety issues.
Have you guys had conversations with the Tullamore and Amber Meadows HOA boards?
We have, yes.
They're okay with it looking terrible?
I
It looks
I have had a
terrible.
conversation with Tullamore about their roundabout, and she was going to have a conversation with the board to see if they wanted to do anything.
Okay. 'Cause
But
I mean,
aside from that, the,
talk about welcome to Marvin. It looks
I mean,
terrible out there.
Yeah, it does.
We made this very clear when we revised those contracts that it was gonna be NCDOT, taking care of it.
I have not had a conversation with Amber Meadows regarding the Tom Short strip, but you're right, we made it very clear. So I think Amber Meadows has some issues right now with their board where they may be absent a couple of board members, but you can relay the message back and see if they want to do anything.
But technically, we couldn't touch it if we wanted to,
No.
right? Yeah, I mean, so it's, and we've made it clear what.
We just wanted to make you
expectations-
all aware of it and the community aware of it as a reiteration of what we did in the fall so that when complaints start coming in this first year, you all know that it's not our responsibility at this point. So that's really the gist.
And you can direct whoever's calling in and complaining about how bad it looks and coming right into Marvin, that they can direct that to DOT.
And let's have that number readily available,
Yep.
because I assume we'll get a lot of calls, and you can just kindly say, this is their wheelhouse, so.
Absolutely.
But that's the gist of that agenda topic.
The right-of-way, DOT right-of-way there is 84 feet. And if you're coming in, all the trees on the right, they go beyond the trees, with the trunks of the trees. And it's 84 feet there. And like on the other side of the road, it's 70. So they need to go like the right-of-way.
Yeah, and we'll maintain our portion of that right away in our section, but for them, they'll maintain their portion, but I don't know that they'll.
But again, our portion is very, very small. It's not even a noticeable amount, so.
So you're saying that it's that pink part that goes from the smaller roundabout to the larger roundabout?
That's ours, yeah. it's-
That's ours.
We're across the creek.
And then it also kind of includes that larger roundabout. Isn't that also kind of like the sign for Marvin Creek? Where
It
it's
is.
actually,
That's their
it's got their
entrance.
lettering and everything on it, so that's really their entryway.
It is, and they do a
maintain
really
that
good
part
job.
Inside of where the gate is.
Okay,
But we own underneath the gate and that third of that circle.
gotcha, okay.
So,
We can put in a work request to them.
Their level of maintenance is very low, so.
And you're talking about once a month, the center island on Ray Road, they do it 4 times a year. It took me 6 months to get that through.
Do y'all have any questions?
the only other question I have, because I'm always seeing like signs, variety of different signs, would we manage that, or was that not our responsibility in those roundabouts?
The advertisement signs,
Okay.
yes, sir, I drive that, I try to drive it weekly, and we'll pick up any signs that are out
Okay.
there.
But Davey is very responsive, so if you happen to see a sign
Oh,
somewhere,
I'm out
text
there either
him.
picking them up or calling him.
All right, good.
All right, thank you.
Davey's up next, too.
Next up, we have considering approving the low bid for a Kawasaki all-terrain vehicle provided by Full Throttle Power Sports, and to allow manager to move forward with the purchase, as long as the mayor gets to drive it every once, no, I'm just kidding.
So moved.
And so currently, the Village of Marvin owns a Kawasaki ATV. We put it to good use in grounds maintenance at Marvin Eford Park, and we even use it on some of our trails and greenways. It's a really good tool. The current ATV is nearing the end of its life cycle. I think I've found that it's like a 2011 model. So it's been really good, but we really are in need of a new one.
We got it at a bargain back then even. It was a used one.
It was a used
Yeah.
unit then. so-
Yeah.
It's been really sturdy.
I think you have a motion on the table already.
Bob, I think Bob was doing that for Joe being able to drive it, I think.
Yeah. So we'll-
Is that an actual motion? Was that an actual motion?
I was
He
having fun with it, yeah.
he was having fun with it.
Oh,
No.
okay.
So
Okay,
we're
sorry.
still in discussion.
Okay, good.
Sorry about that.
You're fine.
For those listening at home.
So,
My attempted humor.
staff has researched multiple brands and models that could meet our need, but ATVs are very expensive. And so, after looking through all that, we determined that the best option would be to purchase a new version of the Kawasaki Mule that we currently have, because it's served us well for several years. So per the Village of Marvin purchasing and procurement policy, staff requested quotes for a Kawasaki Mule Model 4010, a 4x4, from multiple dealers in the area. Out of all those requests, we did receive 2 quotes via email that meet our procurement guidelines. And the lowest quote came back from Full Throttle Power Sports in the amount of $13,000. And so per the purchasing and procurement policy, the council must approve the vendor quote prior to our purchase. And so staff is requesting that you approve the low bid for the Kawasaki all-terrain vehicle provided by Full Throttle Power Sports and to allow the manager to move forward with the purchase.
All right, so in here, so that the public sees this, because they don't see this, there was $10,000 budgeted in this current for replacement of this. We've known that this vehicle was on its last leg for some time. And then you're requesting the remainder, the differential from ARPA funds. So we're not putting anything into the new budget to cover this or anything. This is on the current year's budget and the differential in ARPA funds.
That's correct.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure there's clarification for the public listening that we're not adding anything to the new budget.
Yes, sir.
And will that be like equipped with like winches and stuff like that, or is it just a basic with a hitch and?
It's the basic with the hitch, comes stock.
Okay.
But it has basically the same specifications of the one that we have now. It's just a brand-new version of it.
And what are we doing with the old one?
We will have to eventually auction it, go through the procurement process to sell it.
I'm asking what we're doing.
We'll continue to use it until it fails, and then we'll dispose of it per our procurement
Okay.
policy disposition schedule.
You could potentially add a winch to it at some point
You could.
aftermarket, right?
Yeah, there's some accessories that you could add to it.
Okay. So we need a motion on this? Does anyone want to take it, Andy?
I'll do it. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the low bid for Kawasaki all-terrain vehicle provided by Full Throttle Power Sports and to allow manager to move forward with this purchase.
Further discussion? All of those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. All right, we are on to open topics. What?
New business, I got something brought up to me last night, and I didn't realize.
Would that be open topics?
Yeah.
Yes, it could.
All right, so we're gonna, just so we're clear on, we're staying within the agenda. So what's your topic?
Are we gonna celebrate Marvin's 30th birthday this year?
That was mentioned to me by someone
So
that we
that is,
somehow
that is going to be the
overlooked.
focus of our newsletters coming up.
July 1st?
It's going to be the focus of our June newsletters going into July. There's 30 years of Marvin. We'll do some different aspects as our cover story. So we're going to do some social media for it and some of our communications.
Yeah, I
We
would
wanna-
also say, as far as Marvin Day planning, it would be appropriate for it to really kind of be celebrated then as well, if we intend on doing that again.
Can we, well, it's too quick to do it by Saturday, but I'm just trying to think that if there's anything that, an open house and come by for a piece of cake or something, I don't know, celebrating 30 years.
Not enough in this world.
We definitely don't have enough time for that, or even for July. But he is focusing his efforts in communication. So if y'all want to do something in the fall, we can talk about that at our upcoming work session, but we just don't have enough time
Right, July.
between now and July.
I mean, you really need to celebrate like the 30th year. So it doesn't, we don't need to rush to do it. It doesn't have to be on the 1st, like it'll be the 30th year. So we'll have time to plan something if, you know, if we think that, you know, people actually want to celebrate Marvin.
We'll add it to one of our upcoming work sessions to discuss.
Okay. Other open topics? I have a few. Real quick, yes. Real quick. The first one's real quick. First one, WUMA on 6/27 is going to be hosted here on 6/27. I will be traveling. So will you be here, and do you want?
Well, I'm glad you gave me some notice this time.
Are you going to be here for a work session that morning?
No, I'll be
So do you think
zooming
maybe
in.
you should talk to me about that too?
We'll get there.
That is
That's
our
next on the list.
anyway, so.
Right. Well, I'm just letting you know, it's college tour visits for my youngest, so that's already been on the schedule. But, yeah, so we'll have you here for that at least? Okay, then I won't worry about asking anyone else, because I thought for some reason you wouldn't be there. Secondly, and you'll handle the meeting? All I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in.
We'll be out of here in an hour, y'all.
They're all cheering, the staff is cheering. All right, the next open topic I have is what we're currently doing that my understanding is we don't have to do, and it's live streaming. And the reason for is I'm hearing, every time we go to do it, we hear that we're having technical difficulties. We don't necessarily have the staff to kind of man that. So because we don't have, by state statute, have to do that, do we want to continue doing that with the understanding that there may be technical difficulties on this? I know we've had them in the past, and having staff has not necessarily, we don't have the staff currently to address that issue, right?
So I
Or do we?
actually brought this to Mr. Mayor's attention because we have, over the last couple of months, we've had issue after issue with AV equipment either failing or issues with connectivity and it being YouTube's fault. A lot of the things that I've read, people are getting upset about it and they're thinking that it's us internally doing things purposefully, and it's not the case. We just don't have dedicated staff to troubleshoot everything at a particular time when issues pop up. Unfortunately, we are a small staff. We don't have a dedicated IT person. Austin, unfortunately, has taken the role of being the IT guru just because he's younger in generation and kind of knows how to do some of that stuff. But he does have a full-time job. He does have expectations to make sure that we're opening meetings, closing meetings, following the rules, making sure you guys are following your rules of procedure so that meetings are done in accordance to state statute. So at times, there are periods when he is trying to troubleshoot that he's not focusing his efforts on his actual job duties, which is making sure that we're doing the right thing. So I wanted to bring it to y'all's attention. It is not a requirement. It is something that we do as a luxury to our residents, but it is taking away from him doing his actual job. And with the issues that we have had and been trying to troubleshoot, it can be problematic at times.
One quick thing I would like to note is we have had some issues recently. We're still working on them. We've fixed 95% of our issues. We're checking one last live streaming issue right now, which it's possible that it is our speed of our internet once we're in a meeting and everyone is on their device at the same time. We're currently working on that. We're going to have our IT guy, our IT consultant come in and meet with our AV technician. Sometime in the next 2 weeks, me and Davey are working on that. So we hope to provide y'all an update later. As of tonight, it's been working fine, but yes, there's been a bit of randomness when it goes down as of late.
Another option that you all could consider is having a dedicated IT person here during meetings. It is going to be costly because we do have to pay the guy hourly, but it is something that has been problematic. I wanted to make you aware and just see what your thoughts were.
Yeah, my feeling is that I think the openness is a good thing from the live stream. I don't worry about the naysayers. I've been directed to some of the comments that have made, certain topics seem to inconveniently go out. That's not the case, never has been the case. But I appreciate what Austin does. I don't want him having to spend inordinate amount of time if we do have an issue, because even when we have had an issue, I think almost all the time, you're able to get something uploaded the next day, fully. So, you know, the live stream, I think it's good to have, but it's certainly a nice to have, not a need to have. So if we do have an issue, we just ask the public for some understanding with the knowledge that, you know, in all likelihood, it'll be posted by the next day.
So let me just ask you real quick, Austin. Now, it's the live stream that is going down, not the actual recording of the meeting,
No,
correct?
we have, so the meeting is recorded natively in Zoom. That is the system that we use. The Zoom is then connected to YouTube, which transmits the recording live for people to watch at home. The issue lately has been with the quality of the stream and it going down. So that is between us and YouTube. And we were thinking YouTube, we're now thinking possible internet connectivity issues.
So we're recording everything and all that, so
Yes.
that all of it's available
And if-
post-meeting if somebody wanted to view it.
And we have had comments that people are concerned that we're editing the video or something. If I were to upload the Zoom recording natively, it is all time-stamped. It's tracked in the bottom corner. You can literally see the entire video is there.
Well, that's good enough.
I mean, I'm gonna be the naysayer here. You know, people hate me anyway, it's fine. But we're doing all of this stuff to be open and transparent, well above what we have to do per what the state requires. We're doing it, yet we're still getting dinged for doing it. So why are we doing it? Like, if you wanna know what's going on, I mean, yes, I understand people are busy, people can't get in there, but you should come and sit in here and see what's going on. Before COVID, that's how you had to do it, plain and simple, period. And I mean, yes, I get paid to be here, but I make it to meetings. And if you can't make it to a meeting, you can listen to a recording afterwards, or you can read the minutes. So I'm gonna be the naysayer here, again, it is what it is. Because even though we're continuously doing the right thing, we're still getting dinged for doing the right thing because people think we're intentionally cutting the video. We're not talking loud enough into our microphone so people can't hear us. We are, whatever we're doing, we're getting dinged on it by people who just don't like us, plain and simple.
Well, like I said, the meetings are recorded. You can listen to the meeting after the meeting. It's all there. It's just, if the live stream goes down because YouTube isn't getting it out, that's not our fault. That's
And
not
at
our
the
problem.
and to tag on to that is, at the end of the day, if it was live streaming, there's nothing they could do about it. They can't call in to say, oh, you know, or nor if they were in the audience, they do it. So, again, I probably would side with Kim on this and say, you want to learn what's going on and be able to be here and make a comment, come in and visit. But if we're not required to do it, but we're doing it because of the transparency is always there. It's just after the meeting occurs. It's still transparent. We're not cutting anything, correct?
It's a good analogy, is it's like live TV versus Hulu. You're either watching it when it's on or you're watching it the next day.
You know, it's funny, especially from the town hall meeting. 7 years ago, you know how people communicated with us? Through pink flyers and mailboxes. And it is amazing, this council, one of the first things that when we came in, I remember when I was first voted in, I could tell you exactly, it was January, actually no, it was December of 2019. And we talked about how do we get news out to the public? How do we do this? And we didn't have we don't have the emails that you get 2 or 3 or 4 times a week now. We didn't have any coffee with council. We didn't have a town meeting. We didn't even have a flyer that came out. Maybe occasionally, I remember somewhere in 2015 or 16, there might have been a flyer. It's amazing how the big agenda for us was to be transparent. And I totally agree with Kim. It seems like all that we've done, now we're kind of, what are you trying to pull? What are you trying to hide? I've never seen such scrutiny such scrutiny over all the things that we've done over the past 7, 8 years. It's amazing. And, you know, we just finished with a town hall meeting that had, what, about a dozen people in it? And so my personal feeling is the same thing. It's like live stream, it's another benefit we were trying to give the community. It's recorded, it's time-stamped, they can see it on YouTube or show up here. And anything that happens that's earth-shattering, it's going to wind up in the email anyway. So I totally agree. I don't think we need to live stream anything, especially if it puts a burden on the staff. This staff is a skeletal staff in a town of 6,700 people. So I think we just go with the YouTube like we have been. I think that's adequate.
One other thing to note, the only thing that requires is the day after the meeting, someone has to have access to our Zoom account and YouTube account to download the video, well, we don't process, just to download it and upload it. And that usually takes usually for a long meeting, about 2 hours to do, just letting you know.
But it's doing it in the background.
It's doing it in the background, but it requires a staff member to actually go in, post, and hit buttons, yes. It doesn't do it automatically like a live stream does once we turn it on and it's up. I just want to make sure y'all are aware of all the mechanics of everything.
Okay.
Is that less work, or is that more work?
If everything runs correctly, it's less work to live stream. If it doesn't run correctly, it's more work.
Well, I mean, if you can figure out the kinks, then fine. If not, then it is what it is. It's,
Do you all want Austin to come and do a little bit of research and present a couple of options for y'all to consider? I just wanted to bring up the subject to see if you guys had any feelings either way, but it sounds like a little of division here. Do you want a little bit more research?
Yeah, my thought was that if things are working, that it's just Austin clicking a button and that activates the live stream. And if there's an issue with it, I'm not worried if he doesn't ignore it because it's being recorded anyway and coming up the next day. If what I'm hearing is that if he doesn't click that button live stream, then each time the next day he has to spend time doing it and uploading it, I don't know that we're saving anything. So I'm saying, go ahead, flip the switch, you know, let it live stream. If there's an issue, don't worry about it. We're all busy during these meetings and he doesn't have to scamper to do anything. But he would just have to go the next day to do whatever he would have to do if he weren't hitting the live stream button.
I'm fine with that, too.
yeah. I mean,
That's fine. We're gonna keep working on just to make sure we have a strong internet connection, and I'll give you guys an update at a future meeting.
yeah, that's fine.
Does that help? Okay. And then this was brought up in the conversation. The other thing I wanted to talk about is the town hall meeting format. I don't know about you guys, but this, to me, was a disgrace the way it was, the back and forth. And we didn't have an agenda. It was for questions. I'm going to put the blame on me for not, because I even was approached by Ed saying, why didn't you, I was trying to get your attention, because if there wasn't a question, we weren't here to be accused of whatever we were being, I'm sorry? Interrogated it to a point, and I'll get to that too. It's like, I just got quiet because I felt like someone was trying to get me in a gotcha moment, quite frankly. And I do have the information here where I came up with, I think I talked about $433,000 for a trail. That's right here on the master plan, and then how much we spent on it, which was a fraction of it. So, but I just got quiet, and then the accusations of, Kim's husband and what she's doing, that's not what we're here for. I think it was a disgrace, and I think it's creating a situation where, as we go forward, we're going to really have to think of this format and how it's going to be. If you don't have a question, go out on Nextdoor and do whatever you want to do, and you can say whatever you want to say about us, but we're here to solve questions. If you have a legit question, we can answer it, but these I felt like it was, we're going to get you in a gotcha moment and stuff. And look, if we make mistakes, we're the first ones to admit that we've made that mistake, and we'll go back and correct it. I don't want to see it again. I'm going to put a lot of the blame on myself for not stopping it. Sometimes in the moment, I'm not really recognizing, but it got ugly, and I didn't appreciate it, and I just wanted to let you know and put it out there. So if we want to change the format, again, I'm all for being transparent as we can. Maybe it's less town hall meetings with more structured questions that are, submitted or something. I mean, I know it's free, I get the free speech thing, but, talking over each other was so much disrespect, too, for what we're trying to do, because essentially, you think you're getting paid. I don't really think we're getting paid, because it's a small stipend in exchange for the time that we spend here, and we're really trying to help. I can promise you that, and I am very proud. In fact, I wrote it in my council comments for later, of this group being the adults in the room that are actually doing the leadership roles of increasing taxes, because we have to. Things are growing all around us, and we're doing the right things, but to be accused of what we're being accused of, I thought was shameful, so.
Just a reminder, you guys do have a town hall meeting scheduled for October 1st. That's going to be the normal, it's scheduled to be the normal format, where we have a prepared presentation that we take general questions either after each topic or at the end. If you guys still want to have that meeting, we can. If you guys want to move it, cancel it, change the format, whatever you want to do, just please let us know, and we'll try to implement any of those changes within plenty of time.
That's an important meeting. That's basically, we give the
State of the village.
state of the village and what's going on and all that, and give people an opportunity to chime in about all of that stuff. I mean, we report what we've accomplished since the last one.
I mean, we got, quite frankly, we got accused 3 nights ago about how we conveyed the message from Coffee with Council to that, which was, it's like, okay, you take what's there, and then we're being accused, oh, that was nothing of what had actually happened. And we have a liaison. Whoever goes to that is supposed to just talk about where it was, and I think we all got a pretty good feel of what happened. But it's just, I don't know. I don't know the answer for it, but I'd hate for just a few individuals to kind of spoil that, because in the end, my goal is to be as transparent as we can and have as many meetings and have these kind of things. And now we're hearing that, do we really want to participate in it? Because I did get quiet because I didn't want to necessarily misspeak on something, but I did find the information for you on that, but I just don't like that format.
Well, I was thinking about a couple of things that we could do to improve, if we even entertain that type of session again, or part of that session as another of something else in a town hall meeting. But number one, I think people should come up to the lectern. I think just handing the mics out in the crowd, it kind of created, more of an us against them type situation. But I also think we still do need to have time limits, because we had certain people that were just wanting to filibuster. So you might make it only 5 minutes per topic, and if that topic's already been covered, then we say to the next person, we're sorry, we already spent time. I really have to commend people that are on this dais, especially ones that were getting personally attacked, because I think we stayed an extra 45 minutes, for it to happen. Because we as a council have always kind of stayed above and beyond, the times that we ever allot for anything, for the most part, because we want to be there to answer legitimate questions. Unfortunately, it turned into a lot of personal attacks from the residents area, and that was unfortunate. But I think we need to continue to do those. I think we can refine a better format to, for the people. I mean, I think there were people even within the crowd that were kind of shocked, out of those people that came, and it was unfortunate. But, I also commend people for coming out and saying their piece. I think you just have to still be respectful in doing it.
Yeah, and I do want to comment on this too, is while I appreciate criticism, because we learn from criticism, I also do appreciate some people coming forward with some positive stuff, some solutions to situations and issues that could help us be a better community. I mean, criticism's great, it's easy to do, but thinking of solutions and coming up with a way to fix things takes a little bit more effort. And while this is all we do on our end, is try to figure out, ways to do things better, it would be nice if we got some positive reinforcement instead of just criticism. I mean, by all means,
Well, like
criticize
the
me
guy
if
with
I'm
the ball
wrong, because,
fields, you know?
I I'll be the first to admit that I've made a lot of mistakes in my lifetime, but, and I will continue to, but I try to learn from them. So, yeah, criticism is certainly welcomed, but I would appreciate some positive stuff too.
Well, if nothing else, we'll just revisit the format and how it is. I like your idea of time, like, have that.
That is a good idea.
Right, and again, it goes back to if we're handing mics out versus, okay, we'll call you to the front to come ask your question, because it became a free-for-all, and again, my apologies for not tamping that down sooner and recognizing that. But that said, just something to think about. It's open topics. We're not going to make a decision on that, but it's something we can talk about later for that. So I'll go ahead, if there's no one else with anything else, I will go ahead to review of action items.
Okay, not too long of a list today. Christina is going to reach out to state reps about Senate Bill 166. That was the building code bill. We're going to move forward with the ATV purchase. I've got my marching orders on the annexation committee. You guys are going to talk about 30 years of Marvin in an upcoming work session, and if you'd like to do anything, we're also going to have that in our communications. Christina's going to update you all on the STRAP grant once we know if and what we've been awarded. That'll be after June 27th. I think that was mostly it. Did you have anything else, Christina?
No. We'll come back later and discuss town hall forum rules that y'all want to establish.
Okay. Next up, review of the mayor pro Kim list.
All right, let me get this open here.
What you got, Kimmy?
Well, let me get up my micromanager list. Let's see here. Towns at Ardrey Park. How's that going, Hunter? He got an email from them.
Oh, can't hear it on the mic. It's not even
I know. Come on down. He got an email, and he's coming down. That's it. Oh, and he hasn't read it.
I got an email when I was out on vacation, and it's on my to-do list to kind of follow up, but they have followed up with it with us, so I will see where they're at and just go from there.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Mayor, state rep about annexation reform proposal. You don't think that the guy you initially thought was the guy, so you want to find a new guy?
Yeah, we may need to. I'd be very interested. In fact, I may sit in just to sit in on some of your meetings once that gets going and stuff. But I'd venture to say that because it is so heavily weighted at the state level, the legislation, well, I guess the people that move things into law, they're against annexation or because they think it's a cost to the developers and they're sold on that. I promise you it's a pass-through cost. So whatever the developer gets charged, we're one of the few states that don't do it. And I don't know if we're going to get the support that I think, but I'll keep trying.
All right, why don't we just put that on hold for now?
Okay.
Just talk to NCDOT, Mr. Wortman. Okay. How are we doing on the bamboo removal? All right, great.
You'll never get rid of it.
It significantly
bamboo.
reduced the area.
Okay. Hydro study for the loop.
They're
That's it.
conducting that now.
So that is, we're good?
We're in
Complete?
progress. Mhm.
Okay.
No, we're in progress. We'll present findings to y'all
Okay.
soon.
And then have you executed the contract with Dewberry?
We were waiting for y'all to approve the budget tonight, which is in that budget, so we will.
Perfect. Just complete that one then, once it's signed. Thank you.
Once it's complete.
All right. Moving on, council comments. Before I go into council comments, I believe we have a new sheriff's officer, right?
We do.
Would you like to come up and introduce yourself? Because I asked him, I go, have you met him yet? And she said, not yet. So please come and say a few words.
My name is Justin Kazaya. I've been with the county for 14 years. I spent the last 7 as a school resource officer between Parkwood High School, Cuthbertson Middle, Weddington Elementary, Antioch, Rocky River, kind of bounced around a little bit. Before that, I worked in patrol in Indian Trail for 2 years. Prior to that, I worked in the courthouse for a year. Before that, I worked in the jail for 2 years, and before that, I was a dispatcher.
Wow.
So I've done a little bit of everything, which has kind of led me here. So it's,
What area do you live in?
I live in Monroe.
Monroe, okay.
I do.
So not too far a drive, but, so.
Not too far.
Well,
I've found a lot of help with the staff so far, especially Davey. He gave me a list of all the neighborhoods that are actually Marvin neighborhoods. Which I heard you guys talking about annexation, and you drive through.
Good luck with that.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know this, but before we had a little table next to, in a kitchen, and a small kitchen down the road there. We actually have an office for you, but there's no doorknob on it for some reason. Just a key and a lock, but, well, welcome. That's great. How many years on?
14.
14
14,
years.
and I guess we'll call it 14 and a half. It was 14 in January.
And you from this area?
Born and raised in Union County.
Wow, awesome. Well, you've seen the growth then, so.
I sure have.
Yeah, so, well, we welcome you and
Thank you.
appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, council comments. Wayne.
Definitely want to thank the staff for everything we've been through lately, and my fellow council people here with us that's withstood the storm, and we'll stand together. Thank you.
All right. John?
Just wanted to thank council for getting through the town hall the other day. It was an interesting one versus the ones we've had before. As I stated, I think there's some better ways to do it in the future, but I do want to thank the residents that showed up. I don't necessarily agree with the way some of them may have represented themselves, and I certainly don't think anybody on here should be getting any personal attacks against them. And that really disappointed me, because I make it a point to reach out to people that I disagree with to try to work with them cooperatively. And, you're not always going to be able to do that. And sometimes it does get adversarial in terms of a particular issue or not. But I think we all have to be respectful from both sides. And I just look forward to having more positive conversations in the future.
Thanks, John. Andy?
Well, I don't really have a whole lot to say, but I do definitely agree with John on his points about the meeting on Tuesday. And that's about it.
Thank you. Bob?
Well, you stole my thunder with Justin, so I was all set. I was all ready. I even had the pronunciation of your last name, but, well.
Which is?
Kazai.
Okay.
Kazai. Yeah. Anyway, so with that, again, I want to thank especially the staff, especially Jill, that's been going through the sausage making of the budget. This has been tedious, and she stood her ground during that town hall meeting, and she knew exactly where we were, and so appreciate that, as well as everybody else on the staff. I get many compliments about Davey and the job he's doing, and of course, from the staff at large. One thing that came up in the open meeting with the MDO, that we rubber stamp stuff, and we're always constantly saying yes. There's nobody here that, and this is for everybody listening, you don't know what goes on behind the scenes. You have never seen a purer form of government. Forget what you're watching on TV. You've never seen a purer form of government than the one we've got here in Marvin. We don't have an R next to our name. We don't have a D next to our name. We're all nonpartisan. And we are people like you that get together of their time and tried to solve problems with no ulterior motives. There's nobody here, this isn't a Bond movie where we've got some sort of master villain between any of us that's trying to come up with some sort of something to dupe the public or do something anti-public. We're neighbors, we're residents here too. But you don't see what goes on behind the scenes. Big thing right now that came up in the town meeting is the trails. I don't, me personally, I can give you my opinion, and I don't walk the trails. I really don't care about the trails. But we talk about it, and you don't know what goes on behind the scenes. So when we come up with an agreement of something, it makes it sound like, oh, you guys just talk about something, rubber stamp it. We don't. The part of the process is what you see, what you don't see behind the scenes of our disagreements with one another. But we all come to the table with a civilized plan, which that was the GO bonds. That was the GO bonds. The GO bonds was trying to solve a problem over a 20-year period of tax increases and stuff that we can head it off at the pass, and we can actually be on top of the village and its issues over the next 20 years. Well, that didn't go through. And yes, that coffee with council that followed that was a meeting without sugarcoating it, and John was there. It was somewhat like a meeting of like, what are you guys thinking? What was the point? Are you kidding me? Explain yourselves. And that was the coffee and council. Okay, how's that for not watering it down? And it got to the point where, we're here to help the community. And if we do something, sometimes we have to look for the benefit of all as opposed to those of a few, to quote a Star Trek line. So the idea is that we have to come up with plans that come across us. So we don't rubber stamp stuff. I just wanted to let you know that. What you may see is a civilized agreement that comes between all of us, and still we don't agree. But I hope that gives a little clarity to what we do. That's all I've got.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Justin, welcome. We're glad you're here. Staff, as always, you guys do an amazing job. Christina, without you at the helm, we would be not where we are. So thank you so much for all of your hard work and your leadership that you have amongst the staff. And staff, all of your amazing work, hard work. I know it's been rough over the past few months, and I fully support you guys. And I will continue to support you guys. I will continue to have your back as people within the community are, just not being nice to you guys. And council, thank you for all of your hard work and putting yourself out there along with your families who are also getting attacked. I have a lot more to say, but I don't really think that it matters in the grand scheme of things because you have the same 20 people who it doesn't matter what you say, whether you say the sky is blue and the grass is green, they will argue with you. And so with that being said, I am embarrassed at how that meeting went on Tuesday. I'm embarrassed for the village. I'm embarrassed for the residents of Marvin. I'm embarrassed for council at how that transpired. We're all adults here. We are neighbors. We might not like each other. You might not like what we've done or the things that we have presented, but acting the way that people acted on Tuesday night was truly embarrassing. And I hope that doesn't happen again. I won't engage in that type of back and forth. If you want to come in and yell at me, that's fine. You feel free to do that. but I'm not going to engage in that type of back and forth. If you want to have a civil conversation, feel free to call the village. I'll set up a meeting with you, and we'll try to work this out like adults. But that, I won't be a part of that again. It's just, it was embarrassing.
Thank you, Kim. Couple notes. Welcome, Justin. Glad you're here, and we look forward to having you here and providing the level of comfort that we've had in the past from a security and safety standpoint. So we appreciate your service. That said, to staff, you know, I go back and I'm going to pick on you a little bit, Jill, because you did a great job with all of this, you know, putting the budget together. This is, I think, the first time we have approved a budget and nobody has shown up. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I will tell you, you know, we're going to get the naysayers saying we raised taxes 33%. Because that's what it is. We're going from 6 cents to 8 cents. And you know what? I applaud these guys right here for being the adults in the room and actually taking action because action was needed. So thank you for that, council. But I remind this council, and for those of you out there, there was a time where it was so bad on council. Think about this. They took away council comments just because they were fearful of what I would say. I would always talk about the elephant in the room. And they literally stopped because they said it took too much time in the meeting. And I was a little savvy to that. I would take my mayor hat off and I'd go sit on the podium and take my 3 minutes to get my whatever I wanted to say out. So there's always a way to skin that. So we've grown up. We have adults in the room. We appreciate that. Even what this group has done is changing the form of government. When I heard a question about the lack of leadership we have, that is true leadership. I think when a council can agree to accept the fact that you guys as staff members don't have to worry every election cycle if your job's going to be around. And that's kind of how it was, and now that has changed, and we have had some long tenure with you guys, so we truly appreciate that. Just checking things off. I wanted to make a recognition. Yesterday, I was at, and my wife got me this in time, so thank you, Jennifer, but I forgot to bring it. It was the Marvin Ridge High School awards day for the seniors. And my son was one of the, I guess, accepting his award there. So it was fun to be there. But more importantly, and you'll appreciate this, and for those of you that are in the military, this is unheard of, that West Point, it's like a big deal if they accept one cadet from a high school. They have 4 cadets that were, I mean, I got chills when I heard that. 4 cadets that are going to West Point from Marvin. There's also, on top of that, there is, and I wish I had their names, but I didn't have them at the time. There was also United States Army, ROTC Army. He's going to Florida State. Air Force Academy has a person that is going there, and also U.S. Naval Academy. So touching. The scholarships that were awarded were in the, I would say, millions of dollars when you add everything up between who's going to MIT and what they're producing over there. I saw the principal on the way out, and Mr. Lasher, and just thank them for what they're doing over there. So it was just so touching, and I just want to do a little shout out to them. And again, the graduating seniors of Marvin, so proud of you guys, and glad to be a little part of it on my end with the band group. So with that said, we need to go into closed session, so I need a motion for that, and then we'll
make
come
that.
back and close.
Motion to recess into closed session pursuant to NCGS 143.318.11A5 to instruct staff concerning the position to be taken in negotiating the price and other material terms of a contract or proposed contract for the acquisition of real property identified as parcel 062070005.
Before I get that approval, I wanted to say one more thing about the meeting Tuesday. You did a fantastic job on Tuesday night, because you were the newest of a lot of the council, and I want to say how you handled yourself, how you answered that question, because a lot of people who come on to this position, they're drinking from a fire hydrant. What you had is a lot of experience in the back, and you've seen how things work in the background, but thank you for that. That's the other thing I had on my list there.
Thank you.
With that, I have a motion on the table. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, we'll go into closed session, and we'll just make a notation that Jamie Lyon has just joined us. Thank you.
I was the only one that got the memo that we were supposed to start at 7:30. Y'all were wrong.